They have done tremendously well in 2021, and I think they're going to pick up some of that back in 2022. But outside of those, there's three other ones that I'm very, very bullish on that I really believe has tremendous upside. Number one is
all right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin. Now, on this channel, we drop one video per day demystifying the cryptocurrency market. That's why you subscribe. And in today's video, I wanted to switch things up and bring on a very special guest, an analyst of this crypto market that I really respect. He's been in crypto for a long time. George of CryptosRUs. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. What's new with you?
Oh, just making more videos every day, just like you guys. Hang in there, making people stay focused, making them, stay hopeful and in the game, and hopefully we can all prosper together.
I love it. And that's actually one of the things I really respect about your channel. Rain or shine, bullish or bearish, you like us, you're making videos, just sharing the news and perspective. So let's jump right in. What is the state in your mind of crypto in 2022? I know you're bullish long-term, but this year, what are your thoughts?
This year, unfortunately, we're starting on the year with some uncertainty. And I'm talking about, Fed and what they're going to do with interest rates, whether or not they're going to hike it faster than expected and how many times, and all this talk about reducing their balance sheet, tapering. There's a lot of economic stuff going on to try to battle against inflation, right? Because we know inflation is real, and now the Fed is, trying to do something about it. And unfortunately, because of that, we have market volatility right now. The traders of Wall Street, to me, they're being very reactive right now, and they're doing things that is affecting the market in a negative way. The Dow, the Nasdaq especially has been selling off, tech has been selling off, and unfortunately Bitcoin and crypto is now associated with that tech sector. And there is a lot of correlations whenever Nasdaq and tech sells off, Bitcoin and crypto also sells off. But what I think is wrong about that thought process is Bitcoin, we know, yes, it's a technology, introduced blockchain, and crypto has introduced a lot of new innovations, but they're not like stocks. And it's very early. And if you just pay attention to what's going on with Web 3.0, it's very similar to Web 1.0 when things were just as confusing then. I saw something recently about how when the internet was introduced, most people just didn't get it. And you try to explain how one day there could be billions and billions of dollars of e-commerce running within the internet, and what people could do with it, how it could transform their lives. And that's from all aspects, from banking to buying tickets or to ordering an Uber, which of course didn't even exist back then. And of course, email and everything else, people just didn't get it. But people that did get it, well, they prospered, right? And I feel like right now with Web 3.0, that's what's happening. And, a lot of people just don't get it. They don't understand what's going on. But the people that do, I think, the people that are in the game and they really understand what's coming, well, they're going to prosper just like people did back 20, 30 years ago.
And just so our audience can get to know you a little bit more, what is your general investor's thesis when you take out positions in the crypto market? Bullish or bearish doesn't matter. I'm just looking at the overall thought process you go into.
My general thesis is looking at the projects that have a lot of traction, and more importantly, traction within the Web 3.0 realm. And that's a broad statement. I mean, like, what is Web 3.0? I see it as just decentralization of pretty much everything that we use today. And that could be from a banking perspective, right? Payments perspective. Also, a lot of things that we take for granted, like a marketplace or or ordering process or a report, invoice, whatever it may be, right? There's a lot of things that can be decentralized. And I'm looking at projects that really support these new age Web 3.0 projects. And I'm referring to the L1s, the network protocols out there. And that's my main concentration right now. My main thesis is looking at these projects that are really the foundation, the operating system for these new Web 3.0 dApps. And I think they're all going to be growing massively in 2022.
And it's important to understand that you and me as well, you know, we're not traders, I believe, we're investors, meaning it's a long-term mindset. You know, they call it HODL for a reason. So let's just jump right in to a big question that I get a lot. And I'm never going to give financial advice to, you know, somebody else. I just talk about my personal strategy. So for today's video, this is just about you, what you are personally doing. But the question I get is, you know, if you were starting over with a clean portfolio, how would you invest $1,000 in cryptocurrency in 2022?
That's a good question. And I've thought about it a little bit. You know, before I would always advise anyone new to follow what I call the 50-25-25 rule, which is 50% in Bitcoin, because I believe Bitcoin will continue growing and it's the hardest asset that we have, and it's a store of value and a hedge against inflation. So I've always advocated 50% in Bitcoin and then 25% in big caps, which is any crypto project above $10 billion in market cap. And then 25% in anything else, small cap, mid cap, small caps, micro caps, right? But these days, I've been looking at more of the L1s, the network protocols. And, you know, part of the strategy for 50-25-25 is you're getting the growth from the smaller mid caps and the big caps. But why you want to have such a big amount of Bitcoin is for that stability and growth. The growth may be slower, but you have that stability. So when the market is not doing so well or consolidating, or we have dips and corrections, Bitcoin usually goes down the least versus everything else. That's a big strategy that has worked very well over the last 4 years, except 2021 kind of changed because of the growing ecosystem, especially with DeFi, decentralized finance, and all the people that are staking their coins into DeFi projects. A lot of these L1s held extremely well during 2021, even during corrections. In fact, you could argue that they held even better, at least some of them, than even Bitcoin. And they have certainly grown faster in 2021 too. So my 50-25-25, I still think that's a really good baseline. If people just don't really know anything and they want to build up their portfolio, I think that's still a good allocation for every kind of sector. But these days, I think it's okay to decrease the Bitcoin portion and increase the big cap portion. And that's because of the L1s and network protocols, the operating systems that I've talked about. They are growing by leaps and bounds. They're the foundation for Web 3.0. And I think it's okay to bump that up. So it could be something like 25% in Bitcoin, 50% in big caps, and then 25% in everything else. So kind of the reversal of Bitcoin and big caps. So I think that can also serve people well. And I've been trying to get more towards that allocation as well.
And for the audience at home, I think you also have to ask yourself is what is your risk tolerance? If you have a low risk tolerance, then you're going to want more Bitcoin and Ethereum. If you can invest, if you have a high risk tolerance, then you can go more into those mid and low caps. It's all about the individual. But George, I love that perspective. And to me, what I heard is if you have $1,000, 250, 25% in Bitcoin, 500 in the high cap layer ones, and then the other 250 in those mid or lower caps.
Yes, that is the breakup. Now, I didn't go into specifics in terms of the big cap. I think a lot of people will be curious to hear about that. But the big caps, there's plenty of great projects. You mentioned about Ethereum. I definitely think that everyone should hold some Ethereum. it is the big dog when it comes to L1s and smart contracts and DeFi. Others are eating away at it, but the difference between market cap and traction is still vast. But in addition to Ethereum, there's many other great plays. I like Binance Coin. I think they're still continue to do well. Cardano, which many have given up on, I still think they're going to do great things, especially in 2022 as they build up their DeFi ecosystem. Solana is a great candidate. They have done tremendously well in 2021, and I think they're going to pick up some of that back in 2022. But outside of those, there's three other ones that I'm very, very bullish on that I really believe has tremendous upside. Number one is Terra, which is huge in DeFi. They are absolutely growing by leaps and bounds in DeFi because of their stablecoin, the Terra UST, and it has done very, very well. So I'm very bullish on them and what they have in terms of their coin burning and how that's associated with the Terra UST, but also Avalanche and Polygon. I'm very bullish on both of these. I think Avalanche is growing also by leaps and bounds because of their DeFi offering, and they're into NFTs. And Polygon, because of their efforts to scale. They made some big purchases for projects that are involved with ZK rollups, which is a new kind of, not new, but it's a kind of scaling technology that Ethereum themselves are very interested in. And Vitalik himself has said, once Ethereum 2.0 comes out, the next concentration will be scaling, and they're looking specifically at ZK rollups. So I like Polygon from that perspective. And many of the metrics about Polygon are fantastic. They even surpass Ethereum themselves, which is quite amazing. So in terms of big caps, there's just a lot of good projects out there. So it's really up to the user or the people watching in terms of doing some research, looking into some of these big caps and determining which ones they like the most. But I think overall, if you have your portfolio about 50%, like that $500 out of the 1,000 into big caps, it's going to serve people well.
I love it. So Polygon, Terra, Avalanche, and the other Cardano, the ones you mentioned, those would be the $500 in the high caps.
Right.
You got 250 left. We can have a little bit more fun.
Yes. These days, I'm a little bit more conservative with the remaining amount because previously, past years, I would look at like the micro caps and small caps because I feel like they have tremendous growth potential. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm more conservative with the smaller and micro caps. I'm more into a lot of the mid caps, things that haven't broken into the 10 billion mark. And a lot of them are L1s again, network protocols, because I just see so much going on within these network protocols, and the growing ecosystem. So I think they're going to do very well. So outside the big caps, there's a lot of L1s that are doing splendid. For example, Phantom. Phantom is up and coming. They're growing. Their DeFi ecosystem is very vast too. And then you have guys like Cosmos, VeChain, someone that I supported for a very long time. I'm finally glad to see that they're taking DeFi seriously because they've always been a B2B company catering to supply chain companies because that's what they're really all about. But finally, they realized that DeFi is definitely a thing. So they came out with their own stable coin and they're growing their DEXs right now. So I'm very glad to see that. And another one is Harmony. Harmony is smaller than these other guys, but they're growing by leaps and bounds. And right now they have one very popular game, DeFi Kingdoms, that's really carrying them. And that game is really just a built-in DEX, and they built a game around it. And that game is exploding, and they're going to open up like a new realm on Avalanche too. So I think that's going to help not only Harmony, DeFi Kingdoms, but it's also going to help Avalanche. So in terms of 25%, I'm still concentrating a lot on the L1s, and I just named just a few, but there's many others that people are very enthusiastic about, and I think you really can't go wrong with them. But outside of L1s, there are a lot of other plays too, like metaverses. People are very excited about metaverses like Sandbox and Decentraland, right? There's a lot of metaverse plays out there. And just today, Microsoft announced that they're going to buy Activision Blizzard for like $69 billion. And if you read in between the lines, the reason for that is because they want to beef up their metaverse offering. So they're really trying to prepare for metaverse and utilize their war chest right now to kind of broaden their horizons and get the technology and get the right people to kind of help them with that. So metaverses are also, I think, will be a big thing for 2022.
I definitely understand your mindset and bullishness on L1s. I think Cathie Wood even said, and love her or hate her, she has a great mind in the institutional mindset of what institutions are thinking. She made the comparison in the internet days, early internet days, you couldn't invest in the underlying protocols. The people that made money were what was built on top of those protocols. Today, you can. And all these L1s right now are competing to see what's the right amount, what's the right consensus mechanism, what's the right economics or whatever to have the developers come to them. So I echo your statement in the bullishness of L1s. Besides Decentraland, besides Sandbox, is there a metaverse coin that you're looking at you think has merit?
You know what? The one that's come to my attention, and they're very, very early, is Pavia, which is on top of Cardano. There's a lot of talk about Pavia right now because they're basically trying to become Decentraland of Cardano. And, they've said something before that's really interesting that I haven't heard anyone else talk about. And that is they bought a piece of land at Decentraland because they plan on building a portal there. So that if you have an avatar inside Decentraland, you can walk through a portal and get your avatar transported into Pavia. I mean, just thinking about that is crazy. It's brilliant. Whether or not they could do it, I don't know. But if they can, that would be amazing.
George, such great perspective. For the audience at home, I encourage you to find the link down below in the video description. Check George out, subscribe to the channel if you don't already, and like the video if you got value. But George, final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience.
Final thoughts. It's basically what I've been stressing recently on my channel. Right now, there's volatility. Like I said, I think we're starting out the new year with some uncertainty with the Fed and their upcoming decision, and a lot of people are trying to guess what's going on or what will be going on. But the main thing is what I do is look at the fundamentals and the metrics and pay attention to why this is all happening. Right now, it's because of inflation. Right? There was too much printing. Now we have inflation issue and the Fed is trying to curb it like they should. But what is the one thing that people could buy that hedges against inflation right now? I can't think of anything outside of Bitcoin. Gold has not hedged against inflation. And in fact, you could argue it's a worse hedge for the last 10 years because it has not moved in 10 years or 12 years, I should say. You look at bonds, you're getting 1.7%. That's lower than inflation rate, so that's not a good hedge. You buy the S&P or you buy stocks. Well, if everyone's selling off, it's not going to be good against a hedge against inflation. So what else is there, right? It's Bitcoin. So I like to keep people focused on that. Is right now there's really no better buy than Bitcoin if you're looking to hedge against inflation. And these guys are panicking from Wall Street. I think they're going to realize that sooner or later that, hey, once they've sold off, what can we buy? What can we buy that's actually safe? And I think they're going to turn back to Bitcoin when they realize that.
I like it. Great perspective. Thanks, George.
Thank you.